Hi, beautiful friends. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening, depending on where you are. Happy March. So, if you have been with me for a while, you know my name is Dr. Simran. I am a triple board certified physician, worked in palliative care for 10 years, and also board certified in lifestyle medicine. I'm a health and wellness coach, and honestly, I just love spending my time empowering people on the everyday habits that they can do to improve their quality of life, reduce their risk of disease, and honestly, it all starts in the kitchen. That's where my journey started 10 years ago, and so normally I come live every Wednesday with my mom. She is actually visiting me and just got in yesterday. So she's in the basement, so she's in the chat, but she's actually physically here. Um, so March is special for a few reasons. If you're joining in live, please say hi in the chat. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Tell me a little bit about yourself. But March is special for a few reasons. Number one, it's my birth month. It's actually my birthday week, so that's very exciting. But it's also National Nutrition Month. And so that means it's even more important to talk about the power that our food holds, because it's something that we're doing multiple times a day, right? And so just some simple shifts in being more mindful around the food that you're eating, or limiting because you're being more mindful, will help you do wonders in terms of your goals, whether it's having more energy or sleeping better or losing weight or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of power in our food that most of us don't give credit to. So what I thought I'd do before we get to the recipe, I picked a really simple recipe for today. We're making a kale sweet potato curry. Basically like a pantry meal. I'm making it in my Instant Pot, so it's going to be done very quickly. If you want the recipe, once I repost this on Instagram or Facebook, just comment kale and I will send you the recipe to your inbox, okay? But it's not going to take us long. So what I thought I'd do first is go through how to read a nutrition facts label. I feel like up until 10 years ago, when I started learning about, food as really a tool to optimize our health versus just something I had to do, was really when I started learning how to read a nutrition facts label. Before that, I feel like I didn't really know how to read one. And honestly, I don't think I learned in medical school how to read a nutrition facts label. And so that's pretty scary because food has the power to heal us and make us better, but food also has the power to make us sick. And, if you follow any of the major medical societies, they are starting to educate more about the power of food and nutrition and lifestyle in chronic disease risk reduction. And, I'm part of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and board certified in lifestyle medicine. And so, they are doing a lot in terms of advocating and creating medical school curriculums and residency curriculums. So I do think there's hope. And I do think more doctors are going to start learning about this, but you have to be your own first advocate. You have to teach yourself. You have to learn yourself. And if your doctor doesn't know these things, bring it to them, right? Doctors inherently are learners, and we went into medical school with this hope to heal and help the world. And so if they don't know these things, that's okay. Just go bring them the evidence and the science and the information that you're learning, so that then not only are you going to help them, but then they can go and help all of their patients, right? Okay, so I have two cookie boxes here, which we'll look at. One's a cracker, one's cookies. So, my kids were raised plant-based, vegan, and they certainly enjoy their fun foods. And I'm a big believer of the abundance mindset. And when it comes to your lifestyle, particularly the food you're eating, it's more about what you're doing most of the time. And then, so it's like an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time we're eating whole, unprocessed, nutrient dense foods. And then 20% of the time we're having fun. And of course, the kids are in school where they have birthday parties and celebrations, and it's just part of our culture to have sugary treats every single time we have a celebration. And so that's fine. But my kids don't really partake in those things. So I usually send them some sort of treat from home. And so these are one of the things that they like. And notice on here, right? Notice on here, not that I have anything against this brand, but notice on here, there's all sorts of words, right? There is Spider-Man on there, right? And this is really important because so much of what we buy in the stores has to do with the marketing tactics, right? Especially the stuff that's marketed towards kids. They'll use their favorite cartoon characters, or some sort of like you get a free toy or something to want them to buy it, right? So it's not necessarily the product, it's really the marketing tactic behind it that gets you to buy the product. And a lot of products will have like heart healthy, or low sugar, or plant-based, or vegan, or like some sort of like big words on the front. That doesn't necessarily mean you should buy it. So what you always want to do is take a look at the nutrition facts label, because that is really going to tell you what is in this food and what you're buying. So first of all, what is the best type of food? Where do you want to shop? You really want to shop in the perimeter of the grocery store, because if you think about the perimeter of the grocery store, and if you guys know the answers to what I'm saying, please put it in the chat, because it's always easier to talk with someone than it is to talk to myself. So if you shop in the perimeter of the grocery store, what do you have there? You typically have your produce section, and you typically have the foods that don't come in a package. I'm not saying all packaged foods are bad, right? I'm just saying that if you shop in the perimeter of the grocery store, those are foods that typically don't have labels. And foods that typically don't come with a label typically means that they're a whole food and they're coming from nature and from the earth. And so those are foods that are left untouched by the food industry. And so, they give our body all the whole nutrients, density, all of that we need, right? So you think about the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber, the protein, all of that is contained within that food, right? Then when you go into the middle sections of the grocery store, that is typically where you start to see more of your foods that are in packages or boxes or have barcodes. And like I said, not every food that comes in a box or a package is bad, which is why you want to read the ingredients label. Especially today, I think there is definitely an uptick in the natural food companies, and there are some snacks that I think are really good. And if you come to my house ever, like a lot of my friends do, I don't know, that if I'm not saying this is an open invitation to come to my house, but if you were to come to my house, you go in my pantry, you're gonna see in my pantry there are a lot of snacks, there are a lot of packaged things. However, each one of those things have been, I have looked at them very carefully. I've compared them to other products. I'm very mindful about what I'm buying, because I'm reading the label, right? So let's look, and I'm gonna share this freebie. It's like a cheat sheet this month at some point with one of my posts. So when you see the post about the nutrition facts label, make sure you comment on it so that you can this sheet. It's honestly what I use to understand how to read a nutrition facts label, and it's really beautifully color coded and everything. So it's a great cheat sheet. So where do you want to start? You always want to start at the top, okay? At the top, you're going to have two things. Number one is going to be your serving size, and number two is going to be your calories. So serving size is important. But sometimes we may buy like a small snack or a drink or whatever, and we think this is one serving size, but if you actually read it, it may be 2 or 3 serving sizes. And it's fine if you're going to eat the whole thing, but just know that the nutrition facts label is just for 1/3 of that or 1/2 of that, and not the whole container, right? Because then you may be over consuming what more than what you thought. Okay, especially if you're someone who's on a journey right now with your health and you're trying to be mindful of the amount of calories you're taking, or protein or fiber or sugar, all of that. So it's important to take a look at the serving size. Then the next thing is calories. Calories are just a measure of energy, right? Food at the end of the day is energy. You're going to get, a certain amount of calories for protein, certain amount of calories for fat, certain amount of calories for carbohydrates, in terms of how it's translated in your body. However, I think what's important to know about calories is it's not just about calories, right? It's about the quality of the calories you're getting. And that's why the rest of the nutrition facts label is really important. Because if you have a really high calorie food that has no protein, that has no fiber, and that is filled with lots of added sugar and saturated fat and tons of ingredients, that is what we call a high calorie or calorie dense but nutritionally deplete food. And that is literally the definition of an ultra processed or processed food, right? You get all the calories without any of the benefit. And unfortunately, that's what majority of the standard American diet is made up of. So for the average, and I say that almost in every live because that's how important it is for us to recognize, for the average American adult, 60 to 65% of their daily calories are coming from processed and ultra processed foods. And for kids, the statistic is that it's up to 70%. And then when you translate that to, our health, it makes sense, right? That is why so many of these lifestyle related diseases are on the rise, from obesity to metabolic syndrome to heart disease to diabetes. All of these things start with the everyday lifestyle habits, the food we're eating, the way we're moving, the way we're managing our sleep and our stress and alcohol. All of that stuff is really what translates to, health and or disease down the road. So calories are really important, right? So if you have a high calorie food that is nutritionally, powered, then you're okay, right? So is this a food that has high calories, but also has, and this is the reverse. So most really healthy foods will be low calorie. So especially if you're getting them, like a whole unprocessed food. So for example, you think about a lemon, or you think about an apple, or you think about something that doesn't come in a box. Typically whole plant-based foods are going to be very low calorie, nutritionally dense. Okay, and you won't be able to see it on a nutrition facts label, but then you can look it up online. However, there are some packaged plant-based foods that may have some nutritional value and still be high calorie, especially when you think about like healthy plant-based fats, right? So you think about avocados, you think about olive oil, you think about olives, you think about nuts and seeds. Typically, these are higher calorie foods, but they're also nutritionally valuable. So that's really important. So if you guys are tuning in, thanks for being here. I'm just going through the nutrition facts label right now because it's National Nutrition Month. And honestly, everything starts with understanding the food that you're putting in your body, right? So if you're here, say hi, tell me where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions about nutrition facts label, I can try to answer. Okay, so we talked about starting here. We start at the top, serving size. We talked about calories. Then what? Then we want to look at, let's look at the yellow along the side here. That is your daily value, percentage of your daily value. So this is kind of based on the recommended daily amount of a certain micronutrient or macronutrient you should be consuming. So what I want you to pay attention to here is the saturated fat and the trans fat, those, and then sodium, and then those are kind of the ones in red. Those are the things that, I want you to be more mindful of, right? So something that is about 5%, if the number says 5% of your daily value, that means it doesn't have very much of that. So if it said 5% of your daily value of fiber, that means it's probably a lower fiber food. Whereas if it says 20%, that means it's got a lot more of that in terms of your daily values. So if your saturated fat is like 30 or 40%, that's a very high saturated fat food. And so you want to kind of try to, especially for saturated fat, try to keep it below 20%. Fiber, it would be great. The higher it is, the better. So yeah, those are the things you want to keep an eye on. And then let's see, what other things? So green over here is fiber. And you guys know that I talk a lot about fiber. The average American, and this is going back to the processed and ultra processed food, right? What does that mean? It means that the foods have been stripped of all the good things, right? And one of the main things that it's stripped of is fiber, which is why these processed foods end up causing a lot of problem metabolically for us, right? Because fiber actually protects us. It protects, regulates our blood sugar, it regulates our blood cholesterol. It helps us maintain our weight. It tells our hormones in our body, it regulates our hunger hormones. It tells us when we're full, keeps us full longer. And so fiber is really, really important. The average American consumes about 10 to 15 grams of fiber a day. And, if you look at the guidelines, regardless of which guidelines you're looking at, you really want to try to consume closer to 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day at minimum. Now, the more whole, unprocessed plant foods you eat, the more fiber you're going to get. I actually tracked my macros because I just started a personal training program with an actual personal trainer for the first time in my life, which I'm very excited about because one of my goals this year is to put on more muscle, improve my bone density, and then my sleep. Those are my two kind of lifestyle pillars that I'm working on this year. But what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Okay. This is what happens when you talk to yourself, right? You forget what you're saying. So what was I saying? Oh, I tracked my macros. Yeah, so I used MyFitnessPal last week, and it was crazy, guys. I consume somewhere between 80 and 100 grams of fiber a day. But when you're plant-based, like I am, it's not hard to get fiber because fiber is in every plant-based food, right? And a lot of us have this misconception that we only need fiber if we are constipated, if we have GI issues. Fiber is what's missing and what's making us as sick as we are, right? It's missing in so many of the foods that we're eating today, and and because it's missing, it's making us sick. So really, really important. Okay. So that's kind of, and then the last thing I would look at here is usually below the nutrition facts label. So the two good things to look at is like fiber and protein, right? So fiber and protein are really, really important because they're going to keep you full. They're going to keep you with high energy, and they're going to prevent you from wanting to kind of constantly eat and have cravings. So you want high fiber, high protein, and then micronutrient dense foods, meaning foods that have your vitamins and minerals and all of that stuff. Okay. And then healthy fats as well. So, below the nutrition facts label, you're going to have something called your ingredients list. And the way that you know what is in that food, the very first ingredient is what is in the highest quantity in that product. And then it kind of goes on, and it goes in descending order of quantity. So the first thing that's listed there is what's in the highest amount in that product. And then the last thing is the lowest amount, hopefully that makes sense. And usually the thing that the rule of thumb I try to follow is I try to buy the product after looking at the nutrition facts label. I try to buy the product that has the least amount of ingredients, right? Because the more ingredients it has, it probably means the more processed it is. So I'll just give you an example here. So you see here is the ingredients label, right? How many different types of ingredients there are there versus with the Mary crackers, you see them here, how many there are, right? It's like a quarter or a half of it, right? So the other thing to keep in mind is with added sugar can have a lot of different names, right? So here in this one, we have organic cane sugar, we have sugar, we have maltodextrin, we have tapioca fiber syrup. These are all different types of sweeteners and sugars, right? So keep that in mind. Sugar is not just going to be listed as sugar. There's a whole list of different ways that sugar can present. Okay, so if we look at this, right, so there's 10 servings in here. They come in little snack packs, right? 90 calories per snack pack. One person might think, oh, that's not bad, it's not that high calorie, but then you want to really look at the rest of it. Like, what are you getting for those 90 calories, right? So it doesn't have any cholesterol. So typically, if you have plant-based foods, just in general, plant-based foods tend to be lower in cholesterol, not necessarily vegan junk food, but just whole unprocessed plant-based foods tend to be lower in cholesterol, which is why if you eat a plant predominant diet, you tend to have better blood sugar and blood cholesterol regulation. And then you have versus like animal-based products, right? We all make our own cholesterol. And so when you're eating more animal-based or animal predominant, you're ingesting cholesterol in addition to what your body is already making. And that is very, very complicated topic. So we're not going to go into that, but something to keep in mind, right? So we look at fiber. Dietary fiber is less than 1 gram. So basically there is no fiber in these cookies whatsoever. And then 5 grams of added sugar. Typically, the dietary guidelines state to not consume more than 10 grams of added sugar per day. So just this one little packet, which is probably just 5 tiny cookies, has half the amount of recommended added sugar. 10 grams is like being nice. So in the ideal world, we shouldn't have any additional added sugar. But again, like, we have to live in the modern lifestyle that we're living in. There is sugar in everything. And that's why just being mindful of what it is you're consuming will help you keep track of that. Here's a fun thing you can do. If you love Starbucks, hey, Lend a Pack, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. If you love Starbucks, before you go to Starbucks the next time, whatever you order, the gingerbread latte, caramel latte, maca, forca, whatever it is you order, right? Just look it up online. The grande venti, whatever sizes are, look up the nutrition facts before you go and just pay attention to the amount of sugar that is in some of these drinks. So if you think your coffee beverage is better than a Coke, it's not. Right? So sugar sweetened beverages account for almost like half the added sugar, more than half of the added sugar in the whole diet. Like most of them come from the sugary drinks we're drinking, from the juices to the energy drinks to the sports drinks to the coffees to the teas that we're buying in the store, right? So you have to be mindful of even that, right? And then this has 1 gram of protein, basically none. 0 grams vitamin D, 0% calcium, 0% potassium. So really, this is a very fun food, right? So for 90 calories, you're not getting a whole lot at all. Okay, so now let's compare that to the Mary's Gone crackers. I love Mary's Gone crackers. I wish I was associated with them, but I'm not. Maybe one day. But now they have a whole bunch of different flavors too. These are jalapeno crackers, and you can do so much with these. You can put guacamole. You can put like a tofu egg salad on there. You can just put like cucumbers. Like there's so many fun things you can do. Dip it with hummus, queso, whatever. They're really, really tasty. Okay. But here's the cool thing, right? So if you look at this, so again, 5 servings per container, 1 serving size is 12 crackers. So that, again, mindful, right? In 12 crackers have 150 calories, but what are you getting for that 150 calories? So let's see. You have, so your total fat is 7 grams, 9%, and only only 1 gram of saturated fat. So that means, and you'll see when we read the ingredients label, that there's actually ingredients in here that have healthy fats, right? So polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fats. We want to have more of those and less saturated fat. Let's look at the carbs. So it has 17 grams of carbs, 3 grams of fiber, which is about 11% of your daily value. It's not bad. And then you have 0 grams of added sugar, which is awesome, and then 5 grams of protein. So for 12 crackers, you're getting 5 grams of protein and 3 grams of fiber and some healthy fats. I would say this is actually a pretty good snack if you're going to have it. In addition, you get a little bit of potassium, some iron, some calcium. And what are the ingredients here? So there's about 10 ingredients. And the first one is brown rice, then quinoa, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, sesame seeds, onion, garlic, jalapeno powder, sea salt, and poppy seeds. So essentially, grains, spices, and seeds. This would be a win for me. So you will always find this in my closet. If I am trying to have a cracker or chips, I would choose something like this. Okay. All right. So that's my kind of take on the nutrition facts label, and kind of this cheat sheet is really awesome. So when I share it later this month, make sure you comment on that post so that you can get that cheat sheet. I'll send it to you. Otherwise, we're gonna make this recipe real quick. And basically, this is a great pantry recipe. So again, we're making kale sweet potato curry. If you want the recipe after this, once I repost it on Instagram or Facebook, just comment kale and I will send it to you. You guys have any questions? Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you. Okay, this is not going to take very long because this is a very easy recipe. This is something that you can recreate very easily from your pantry. Very simple ingredients. And I actually, as usual, when I'm out of something, I just substitute. So the base of this is made like any other curry, which is ginger, garlic, and onions, all from the allium family. Super, super great, especially for cancer risk reduction. And you guys see I'm wearing my breast cancer awareness shirt because it is the first week of March, which means that as you guys, for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know I'm a BRCA1 previvor, which means I'm at high risk of certain cancers. I have a very strong family history of breast and ovarian cancer, so I'm a big advocate for women's health and prevention and, you know, self breast exams and making sure you know what your normal is. So on the first of the month or the first week of the month, that's a great time to just put on your calendar to do your breast self exam. If you are still menstruating, you want to make sure that you're timing it around your cycle. And if you are in menopause like me, then it doesn't matter. And then you want to make sure, you know, have I had my mammogram? Have I had my screening test? Have I seen my doctor? Like, these are all things that we have to take care of, guys, because I can tell you, as someone who works in palliative care for so many years, like, prevention is worth so much more than a cure. And, you know, doing all of these things, eating well, exercising, doing your self breast exams, all of that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're not going to get a disease, but it's like a seatbelt. It gives you your best chance. And that's what empowerment is all about, right? All right, so here we go. We have our garlic and ginger. Again, I didn't really have anything fresh, so I usually get these from Trader Joe's or from the grocery store in the frozen section, and they're like little cubes. They make cooking really, really easy and quick. So I put some cubes of ginger, some cubes of garlic. Unfortunately, I still don't have onions, so I'm just not going to be using onions. But the base of this recipe is made with sweet potatoes. So I already had some sweet potatoes chopped up. And what we're gonna do is we're just going to put these in here. Sweet potatoes are one of my absolutely favorite root vegetables. You can pretty much find them all year round. There's different varieties of sweet potatoes. This is just the original orange sweet potato. Great source of vitamin A, vitamin C, great source of fiber, which we know fiber is really, really important for our gut health, for our metabolic health, for our heart health. And then also the orange color you get something called beta carotene, which is really great for eye health and to reduce inflammation in the body. So you see how like just one whole food will give you so many benefits, right? Like so many synergistic benefits. But sweet potato is like one of those foods I find that if you have some that are kind of black, if you like it, if you bake a sweet potato, it just naturally caramelizes. You don't have to put anything on it, and it just naturally caramelizes, and it's super sweet, and it's like a great treat. Like if you're feeling like you want something sweet but you don't want to, you don't want to eat something that has any sugar, sweet potato is awesome. The one food that the Okinawans in Japan, Okinawa, Japan is a blue zone. It's one of the places in the world with the longest living people who are still actively functioning with a good quality of life. One of the foods that they link to their longevity is sweet potato. I think for them, it's actually purple sweet potato, but they eat sweet potato every single day. So that's something I'm trying to work on too. Like I really just love baked sweet potato, and so to be able to do that, put that in the oven every day as part of whatever you're eating is such a great habit. To get some great complex carbs, great fiber, great panel of micronutrients. There's a lot of ways to eat sweet potato. So if there's a way that you love eating sweet potato, let me know in the chat. I'd love that. Monica's saying, yes, so good. I pop them in the oven with some coconut oil and cinnamon. Yes, so good. So now this recipe is it doesn't really have much protein. It does have edamame in it, but what I decided to do is just throw some red lentils in there. And that's gonna kind of give me more protein, in addition to fiber and all these other good things that you get with red lentils. Red lentils are super awesome because they're just very versatile. Like the other day, I had friends come over and I made a vegan bolognese, and you can't even tell like that the red lentils were part of the base of that sauce, in addition to TVP, olives, and walnuts. But the red lentils just, they added so much value in terms of nutrient density. So it's awesome. So, well, when we talk about the spices here, it's very simple. So this recipe actually calls for red curry paste. However, the one I have is very spicy, so I'm not going to use it. But what you could do instead is just use curry powder. So I'm going to use curry powder, and don't be afraid to season, because half of eating good food is really just about the seasoning. So I'm going to put actually a couple of tablespoons of curry powder in here. And then that's it. Like I'm going to add the water, and then we're going to cook this. I have my kale, which I will add after, a squeeze of lemon after, a little drizzle of maple syrup after. And then the recipe also calls for coconut milk, and I will so coconut milk is one of the plant-based ingredients along with other like tropical oils. So think like palm oil, but coconut is something that you want to have it in moderation. Like it is good, but you want to have it in moderation because it's one of the plant-based ingredients, that plant-based foods that is very high in saturated fat. So we just learned to read the ingredients label, right? So there's 5 servings per container. Think about this. Normally we pour the whole thing in there, right? One serving size is actually 1/3 of a cup. And so 1/3 of a cup has 13 grams of saturated fat, which is 65% of your daily value. So, you could very easily make something a very, very high calorie, high fat meal if you're not mindful of how of the serving sizes and all of that. So, I'm probably going to use half a can of the coconut milk. And coconut milk is awesome. I mean, it's used a lot in Thai food. It makes the dishes super creamy, super tasty. So I'm not against coconut. I'm just just be mindful of it, especially if you're trying to lose weight, because it's very high fat, saturated fat. So that's all I have for you guys. So now I'm gonna put this on 10 minutes, cook it, and that's it. And then I'll have the meal ready. Basically, by the time the kids are home, dinner will be ready. And that'll be great. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. If not, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. If you want the recipe, comment kale, and I will send you the recipe. Okay, bye. Have a great day.